Okay, good afternoon all. Welcome back to the session. In previous class, I have completed a second module. Okay, first module was introduction and assemblers. So there you studied two machine architectures, SIC machine architecture, SIC XC machine architecture, and you understood the difference between application software and system software. Then you have studied about the assemblers, the complete detailed knowledge you got in first module about assemblers, and also some brief knowledge you got on loaders also. Okay, so then in the second module, you have studied first phase of your compilation process, that is a lexical analysis. Okay, so now in third module you are going to study the third phase of second phase, that is a syntax analysis. So second module is lexical analysis, third module is a syntax analysis. So these are the first two phases of our compilation process, and if you observe both of them, these are processes. Okay, lexical analysis, it is a process which is also called as scanning. Okay, so these are processes, but who will do these processes? Some tools will do this process. And what is that tool? That tool is a lexical analyzer. Okay, which is also called as scanner performing scanning. That's all. Lexical analyzer is performing lexical analysis. Okay, this is about first phase. Now in this module we are going to study the second phase, which is also a process, syntax analysis, which is also called as parsing. Okay, so who will do this parsing? The tool parser, or else you can call it as a syntax analyzer or parser will perform syntax analysis or parsing. Okay, I hope you understood now. Before going to that third module, syntax analysis, directly I want to tell you some brief introductions about the grammar, language, strings, and all those things. So because I want to tell you some terms here. Without that, I think it will be difficult for you to understand third module, which is very interesting. Okay, so before directly going to third module, I want to tell you these things. So first I want to define these all things, then I go to third module. Because of that only, you may observe in top right, top left corner, I have given this file name as a module 3 prerequisites. It means that these are very essential to understand a third module. Okay, so along with my third module notes, if you want this notes also, if you want, I will share this also. So here first I want to tell you about derivations. So what is this derivation? In previous module already I told you one topic, that is strings and languages. So what are strings? Strings are nothing but it is a collection of symbols, because string is nothing but sequence of characters in our programming language actually. So here in our compiler designing, we call it as it is a group of symbols or collection of symbols. What is symbol? Symbol is nothing but it is an individual character or letter it is. Okay, so such type of group of letters will form one word. That word itself is, I am calling it as a string. And not only words will be called as strings. In fact, the entire sentence is also called as a string. And such type of set of collection of sentences is going to define or describe that language. Okay, so here language is made up of a set of strings, and the strings are made up of a set of words, and words or else sentences are made up of a set of symbols. I hope you are understanding now. And who is going to define these languages? Who is going to describe this language? That is nothing but it is a grammar. So always remember, grammars will describe or define the language. Here only in this last line of this paragraph, you will get the definition or a purpose of a grammar. So grammars are nothing but a set of rules or set of productions which will define the language. Okay, so here in the previous module, I have shown you one grammar for branching statements, for if statement and if else statement. Okay, so there we have written some lines there. Each and every line is called as a rule of that grammar, or else you can, now onwards you can use one more word for that, that is production. Every line in that grammar is called as a production of that grammar. Remember, production. Why? Because it is going to produce something. Because whatever the right side of your arrow mark you are getting, it is a production of left side. Okay, so who has produced that RHS? The LHS has produced that RHS. Okay, so already I told you LHS of your productions are called as head of that production. Okay, RHS of your production is called as a body of your production. And usually this head of a production contains only non-terminals. Non-terminals means what? Terminal means the end it is. If you consider a tree, binary tree, terminals are just like leaf nodes. Okay, it is a dead end. After that you are not able to define it once again. Okay, so but non-terminals means what? Still we can define it. So because of that only I'm telling, left side whatever you will get, left side of your arrow mark, those all left side LHS are nothing but they are non-terminals. And what about RHS of your arrow mark? The RHS contains both non-terminals as well as terminals. What do you mean by that? Non-terminals and non-terminals are present in RHS. It means that they are not only terminals, they have some non-terminals also there. So since there are some non-terminals are there, you should keep on defining them, you should keep on producing a production, you should keep on describing them, you should keep on defining until you get the terminal at the right side. Okay, so those terminals examples also I told you in previous classes. The keywords like if, then, else, such type of bold letters whatever I had written in that book, in my this slide. So those all are terminals. It means after that you are not able to define it once again. It is a dead end. If, then, else. But apart from these terminals, there were some non-terminals like expr, expression, and term, term, right? Such type of non-terminals are there. It means that still you can define it. Okay, so you can write one more production for it. Okay, so non-terminals and the terminals are present at the RHS side, and LHS side only terminals are there. And LHS is going to produce RHS, so that is nothing but the grammar is, or LHS is, or non-terminal is deriving some set of non-terminals and terminals which are present in the right side. At the bottom means bottom of that grammar, at the last production right side, if you observe, you will get one terminal there. Okay, so that terminal is the result or output of your first statement or production, from where you started to write your grammar. Okay, the first statement, first rule, first production of your grammar, which is beginning with LHS. That LHS is containing a symbol. That symbol is called as a start symbol. That start symbol is in LHS, and RHS has also some symbols which are called as terminals and non-terminals. So one by one, all the non-terminals, if you keep on defining at the last production, you will get only terminal at the RHS side. Okay, this set of these productions or rules are called as a grammars. Okay, set of rules or set of productions which contain non-terminals and terminals. Okay, and these grammars will define the language. Clear now? Okay, so these grammars are deriving the strings. These grammars are deriving the strings. Which strings? Which you got at the last production as a terminal. Okay, the main reason for that last result or output of that grammar is that last string, which is the output or result of your first production from where you have started, and it is called as a start symbol. Start symbol. Okay, production, head of the production and body of the production, I think you understood. Usually what we do, wherever non-terminal looks, no, there we will replace that non-terminal by the RHS of the production, that is body of the production. That is nothing but defining that non-terminal again. Okay, so now come to next point, that is a parsing. See, as just now I told you, parsing is nothing but it is another name for syntax analysis. Okay, it is a process. So what exactly it does? So shall I tell you one simple trick? Sir, what is the definition? What is the meaning of parsing or syntax analysis? Don't worry, you just observe your compilation phases diagram, that is a structure of compiler. You observe there, the first phase is lexical analysis, which is taking set of input characters and which is producing the set of tokens. Okay, and now we are discussing about second phase, that is syntax analysis or parsing. And if you observe that second phase, what it is taking and what it is producing, It is taking the set of tokens as input and it is producing a syntax tree as an output. Correct? That syntax tree is also called as parse tree. Syntax tree is also called as parse tree. So here, whenever this word comes in your mind, technically whatever that syntax analysis is going to do, okay, don't worry about it. For just one tips I am giving you, parsing is nothing but it is going to generate a parse tree. That's all. Parsing is nothing but generating a parse tree. Are you understanding? Parsing is nothing but creating a parse tree, and it is creating that parse tree as an output. Then what is the input for it? Input is nothing but set of tokens. By taking the set of tokens, it is producing the for each and every token, it is producing the parse tree or a syntax tree. Clear? Okay. So while it is producing these syntax trees for a grammar or for a token, for a same token or for a same grammar, if that parser is producing more than one parse tree, then that grammar is called as ambiguous grammar. There are possibilities are there. It is not compulsory that one grammar should have only one parse tree. Okay, so one grammar may have more than one parse tree also. So which will lead us to the confusion? Which will lead us to the confusion? Which parse tree I have to consider? Which parse tree I have to select? So if you are getting more than one parse tree for a grammar, then that grammar is ambiguous grammar because it is creating a confusion in your mind. Okay, ambiguous means what? Confusion. So come to this parse tree. How exactly our parse tree I am telling now, how exactly it looks like. Parse tree is also called as a syntax tree. Okay, it is a pictorial representation of our symbol, starting from start symbol to the last symbol, which is a terminal. So it is a pictorial representation of our grammar also, you can say. It is a pictorial representation of a start symbol of our grammar, which derives a strings in the language. Okay, suppose if capital A is a non-terminal. Okay, and if this is a non-terminal, definitely we have to define it. Correct? I don't know what is this A. Non-terminal means what? I don't know what is A, so I have to define it. So because of that only it has a production like this. A is deriving X, Y, Z. Okay, then this parse tree may have one interior node whose label is a. See, and interior node will be A, and it has three children nodes X, Y, and Z, and these are from left to right. If you observe this diagram here, A is a root node here, and it has three child nodes X, Y, and Z. And don't think that A is a parent for all the childs. I mean, A is a root node for this tree. Of course, it is not possible. So in this example, it is possible. Okay, it is true. But sometimes, suppose this A may be also having a parent. A may also have a parent. Then that parent is called as a parent node or a root node. For that node, A will be the child node. Okay, at that time, if your tree is like this, that parent or root node and its child is a node, and again A has again three children, then this A is called as interior node. Okay, and here usually instead of calling root node or something else, we will usually call that root node as an interior node only. It means that two types of nodes are there. Interior node, it means that it is not a terminal node or it is not a leaf node. It means that interior node means what? It has some children, and here leaf nodes are X, Y, Z. Clear? A is a root node, or else you can call it as interior node. Whenever I say root node or interior node, it means that that node has a leaf nodes or children nodes. Okay, X, Y, Z are here children of A. And here we will come to the context free grammar. Okay, so instead of calling this as a CFG or context free grammar, in short you can call it as only a grammar also, no problem. Instead of calling it as a context free grammar always, you can call it in short, you can call it as a grammar. Okay, so suppose anybody will give you a grammar and they will ask you to draw a parse tree. Okay, according to that grammar, you will start to draw a parse tree. Okay, but when you draw that parse tree, you should be having awareness about these following four properties. It means you should keep these 4 points in your mind. There are some rules are there, some points are there, some properties are there that parse tree should satisfy. So by keeping these points in your mind, then only you should start to draw the diagram or a parse tree. Okay, so always remember the start symbol is there no in your grammar, which is a LHS of your first production. It will be always called as a start symbol, and for that start symbol we should create a root label, sorry, root node. Okay, root node will be always a start symbol because from that only we are starting our productions. Okay, so then each and every leaf node which is labeled by terminal, or else it will be labeled by empty string, that is epsilon. So just now I told you terminal means what it is. It is just like a leaf. It is a end, dead end it is. After that you are not able to define it. No need to define it. It is a terminal. So terminals or else empty strings will be always a leaf node in our tree, parse tree or syntax tree. Okay, then every interior node. Interior node means what it is? That node has a children. Okay, so these interior node is always will be, it is a non-terminal. Remember, so interior nodes will be non-terminal and leaf nodes will be terminal. So always remember, whenever you look into this grammar, non-terminals will be the interior nodes. It means that they have some children, and terminal is nothing but it is a leaf node. Okay, and if a has a is a non-terminal. Okay, so if this a non-terminal is going to have some interior nodes. Okay, and it has some children like x1 x2 up to xn. Okay, then the labels of those children's that node from left to right, then there must be a production like this. If a is an interior node and x1 to xn are child nodes, then that production look like this. A is deriving x1 x2 up to xn. Here x1 x2 up to xn, everything stand for what it is. Those x1 to xn are nothing but they are a symbol, either terminal or non-terminal. Okay, so then if the production is like this, a is deriving epsilon is a production, then that node a may have a single child node that is labeled with a epsilon. Okay, don't worry about these all things. So come to this important points here again. Tree terminologies. Whenever you are starting to draw the parse tree or syntax tree, you should understand these all things. A tree consists of one or more nodes, definitely. Okay, a tree is nothing but it is a collection of one or more nodes, and these nodes will be having a labels, their names. Okay, and here next is nothing but exactly one node is in the root node. It means not more than one root node may be present there. Always there will be only one root node. Okay, all nodes except this root have a unique parent, because since it is a root node, it doesn't have any parent node. Except this root node, all the remaining nodes will be having a unique parent. Okay, then if node n is the parent of node m, suppose you just imagine node n is the parent of node m. Okay, so here m should be at the bottom and n should be at the top, because n is a parent of m, no, right? And in between this parent and child there will be a edge which is connecting them. Then m is a child of n, correct? The children of one node are called as siblings. It means that here only, just in previous diagram what I have shown you, here one tree I have shown you, no, here a is a parent here, and x y z are there, no, these all are having the same parent. So because of that only x y z are siblings, that is nothing but brothers and sisters. Okay, so the child nodes of a same parent are called as siblings, and the node with no children is called as a leaf. Children with a node with no children. It means that the terminals are nothing but leaf nodes. Other nodes means what? Other nodes having children. Such types of nodes are called as interior nodes. So three types of nodes are here: root node, interior node, and leaf node. Right? Then one more interesting is a descendant of a node. Descendant. Of course, if n is a parent, its children's and grandchildren's are called as descendants of that node n. I hope you understand. In the same way, for grandchildren, n is a grandparent. So you can call them as ancestors. Okay. So descendants means all the nodes which are in the bottom of that parent node. It may be immediate child, or it's maybe a grandchild. Okay. So for the same thing, for ancestors also, it may be an immediate parent of a node, or it may be a grandparent of node, or great grandparent of a node. So these are called as ancestors and descendants. Okay. So here one example I take, it is a parse tree, how exactly our syntax tree or parse tree look like for the expression 9 minus 5 plus 2 according to the grammar which is shown in the example 2.1. That grammar I have written for your reference here. So that grammar is written like this. Set of productions we have written here. How many productions we have written? How many rules we have written? 4 productions we have written. These LHS are called as a head of the production. RHS is called as a body of the production. This LHS is deriving RHS. So these left side all are non-terminals, and here there are combination of terminals as well as non-terminals. If you observe the first production, the first start symbol is a list, which is a root node in this parse tree. Correct? Then what it is deriving? List plus digit. Okay. So I don't know anything. I don't know what is list and what is digit. Once again, I have to define this list. Once again, I have to define this digit. So because of that only, this list as well as a digit are a non-terminal again. So because of that only, here I am defining that list once again here. List is list minus digit. List may be in this form. That is list minus digit. Again, these are non-terminals. Again, define this list. List may be in this form also, digit. List may be in this form, list may be in this form also, this list may be in this form also. Now I don't know what is digit. Again, digit is also non-terminal. So again, you define it. Digit. Digit may be like this. It may be only 0, 1, 2, 3 up to 9. It is a form of digit. So here at the bottom, whatever the symbols you are writing, whatever strings you are writing here, these are nothing but terminals, but these all are non-terminals only. Okay. So for this expression, 9 minus 5 plus 2. So according to this grammar, so which is a matching here? You just observe here. List is a list plus a digit. Correct? So first you define this list, and first you make that start symbol list as a root node. Then you try to draw a parse tree for the first production, that is list plus a digit. So here I have written LH left node as a list and plus as an operator, then here digit. Now I don't know what is list and what is a digit. Once again, you define this list with the help of a second production. Okay, so second production is very much suitable for my expression here because it is a list minus digit. Here 9 minus 5 is there. So I define it like this. List minus digit. List minus digit. Clear? Now again, I don't know what is this list and digit. So that list may be digit, right? So that list is a digit here. Now this digit and this digit I have to define. So this digit already I told you it may be 0 to 9. So this digit according to my expression it is a 9 and minus is as it is, and this digit is a 5 and this list is a plus already I have written, and this digit is a 2. I hope you understand. So this is the syntax tree or parse tree for the expression 9 minus 5 plus 2 according to this grammar. Clear? So this is how we should draw the parse tree or syntax tree for the given grammar. In your exam, you may be asked to draw a parse tree by giving you a grammar. Okay. So if you observe our compilation process, that syntax analysis is taking only set of tokens. So set of tokens is nothing but what? It is taking those set of tokens in the form of grammar. And by taking those grammars, it will generate the parse tree or syntax tree as an output, which will be the input to the next phase, which is a semantic analysis. Clear? Now, let us go to one more small definition, that is ambiguity. Just now I told you. Suppose for a grammar, if you are drawing a parse tree or a syntax tree, and instead of getting only one parse tree for that grammar, if you get more than one parse tree, then among those two parse trees or three parse trees or four parse trees, which one you select, right? So you will get confusion there. So that grammar is leading or it is making you confused. So that such kind of grammars are called as ambiguous grammar. Okay. So one best example I want to show you what is this ambiguous grammar. Okay. So suppose if you draw the parse trees for the same expression 9 minus 5 plus 2, this time we may get two parse trees, because here suppose your grammar may be like this: string. String is a start symbol. What do you mean by string? String may be string plus string. And again, the doubt is not cleared. What is a string? What is string? You have to define, since they are non-terminals. Okay. Why I have defined like this? Here I have one sub expression 5 plus 2. Okay. As per my grammar, first production was like this. So I defined like this. Syntax string is nothing but string plus string. Now again you define what is this string. String may be like this also. String minus string. Okay. String may be string plus string, or string may be string minus string. And here, since minus is there, here is also minus is there. The LHS and RHS of these minus are 9 and 5. So I take these terms here. Term may be identifier or else number, already I told you. Term is a 9 here, integer value. Here one more term is a 5, which is also integer value. And again that string is a 2 here. Okay. It means that your grammar, are you imagining the grammar? What may be the grammar for this parse tree? Sometimes they will give you a parse tree and they will ask you to write the grammar. That also, vice versa, they may ask you in your exam. By giving grammar, they may ask you to draw the parse tree, or else by giving you parse tree, they may ask you to write the grammar for it. So by looking into this, you will clearly tell the first production is like this: string arrow mark string plus string. Second production is like this: string arrow mark string minus string. And third production is like this: string arrow mark 2. Okay. So this is for 9 minus 5 plus 2. So here what you are doing? You are doing left recursive. You are generating the tree recursively towards the left. It means that first you are giving a priority to minus, then you are giving a priority to plus. So it means you are moving from left to right. So your tree also is moving towards left side only. Are you observing? It is moving towards left side only. For the same expression 9 minus 5 plus 2, you can draw one more diagram, one more parse tree, which you can make it as a right side. It means that first this time you will give a importance or priority to plus, then you will give a priority to minus. It means that you are moving from right to left. So at that time, what happens? String may be string minus string, and this string is again defined as a string plus string, and this string is a 5, and this plus is plus, and this string is a 2. So this entire 5 plus 2 will be subtracted from the 9. So here what we are doing, the priority. The only thing I wanted to tell you is here, guys, it is about a priority or precedence of your operators. Okay. So among this expression, So both these plus and minus, both the plus and minus operators have a same precedence. At that time, how to solve this problem? Of course, definitely we should go with the associativity. First, we should try to evaluate this expression by using a precedence. If it is not possible, then only we have to go to associativity. So first you should check the associativity of minus, which is a left to right. It means that while moving from left to right, if minus comes, first you evaluate it. First come, first serve. So after that, plus comes there. Its associativity is also left to right. So here, after subtracting 9 minus 5, okay, so you will get 4. So 4 plus 2, then the result will be 6. So this is our actual thing, correct? So if you do like this, what happens? 9 minus 5 plus 7. 5 plus 7 is a 7, right? So 5 minus 7, again it is also 4, right? 5 minus 5, sorry, 9 minus 5, it is a 4. 4 plus 2, the 6. Okay. So if you come in a reverse order, for example, if you are giving a higher precedence to plus, at that time, that next step will be 9 minus 7. 9 minus 7, it will be 2. The answer is different, correct? Huh? So as per our arithmetic rules, we should go. Okay. So here, this parse trees are giving you the confusion. So for the same grammar, so what I had defined here, string may be string plus string or string minus string, or else it may be simply a term. Similarly, same grammar is applicable here also. String may be string minus string, string plus string, and string may be term. For the same grammar, we are getting two parse trees here. So this grammar is called as ambiguous grammar. Remember, very important points I'm discussing, guys, which are very much helpful for you in your competitive exams or any entrance exam for your MTech or PhD or something, or else even in your GATE exam. Okay, so these all things you should understand. Then associativity came to picture. Okay, if you are using a parenthesis or brackets in your expression, then there will be no any doubt or confusion. But without parenthesis, if you are writing any expression, then definitely there will be a confusion. So because of that only, the associativity of almost all arithmetic operators are left to right only. Okay, so the only one operator which is assignment operator in our programming language has the associativity, right associativity, that is right to left. It means RHS will be assigned to the left side there. So associativity is nothing but whenever the precedence of two operators are same, then associativity helps us to evaluate the expression. The almost most commonly used associativity is left to right. Almost all our arithmetic operators are having the associativity left to right. Clear? So this is about associativity and precedence also I told you. So suppose if your expression is like this, 9 plus 5 star 2, what you do? Of course, first priority you should give to this star, that is multiplication. 5 into 2, 10. 10 plus 9, 19. Okay, so instead of writing like this, if you write the expression with this parenthesis, then it will be very clear for us. Okay, if you write that expression like this also, first we will evaluate the operators which are enclosed inside the parenthesis first, then we will evaluate that. But when we write the parenthesis, the expressions without parenthesis, then it will be difficult for us. Sir, why you are talking these all things now about these all things? See, guys, in our programming language, instead of making it a very much complex and lengthy program by inserting or typing so many characters there, unnecessarily we should not use these parentheses, brackets, right? So instead of that one, if you don't want to use those parentheses or brackets, then it is okay, it is fine for you. In fact, you are very much helping that compiler by giving a small number of inputs to it, input characters. So for that purpose, I am telling, so no need to type extra parentheses, since we have so much powerful weapons like precedence, and if precedence will not work out, then associativity, we have these weapons. Okay, So only if it is necessary there, then only we should use these parentheses. Clear now? So how we can make our compiler easier, compiler design easy. Okay. So then parse tree for both grammars, the grammar for left associative grammar as well as the right associative grammar. We can see there same expression here, 9 minus 5 minus 2. 9 minus, here one expression is there, I want to show you. 9 minus 5 minus 2. So here both of them are minus minus, correct? So if you want to do it left to right, of course we have to do it in a left to right only. And first you will subtract 9 minus 5, then the result is a 4. 4 minus 2. Okay, this is the common way, common method. It is a correct method. So it is called as left associative parse tree. List is nothing but list minus digit. This list is a list minus digit. Again, this list is a digit, and this digit is a term 5. This digit is a 2. So 9 minus 5 will be evaluated first. Then that result will be 4, and 4 minus 2. It is a left associative. And as I told you, in our arithmetic operators, there is one more operator is there, no? That is equal operator. That is not equal operator. That is a assignment operator, which has a associativity, right associativity. That is left, right to left. So in this type of expressions, what happens actually? It is a right associativity. Because of that only, C value will be assigned to B, and B value will be assigned to A. So since it is right associativity, our parse tree or syntax tree looks like this. Right is a symbol, which is start symbol, and it may be like this. It may be in this form. Letter equal to right, and again this right is a letter equal to right, and that right is nothing but a letter. So here A equal to B, B equal to C. So C will be initialized to B first, and B will be initialized to A. Are you understanding, guys? So this is about left and right associative grammars. Just understand the precedence and associativity. Based on that, you start drawing your parse tree or syntax tree. Okay. So then let me to move to left recursion. Okay. So guys, within 1 minute, this meeting will end. Please rejoin this. I want to complete this topic today. I will send one more link now. Okay, one more new link I will send you in your group. You join that link also. Okay. Now you can leave the meeting now. I will restart the session with a new link.